Welcome to the Fur Coat No Knickers podcast. My name is Sophie La Touche. Today we are going to be talking to an amazing girl, Clodagh Cahill. She is going to be touching on suicide and mental health and I suppose ways of coping and her own experience. So this is a trigger warning for anybody that might be watching. If this will be too much for you to handle, maybe just don't listen on to the rest until you're ready. I also just want to say thank you to King John's Castle for giving us the location today. We're in one of the towers, so if you do hear a lot of background noise, there's been motorbikes and buses and beeps. Apologies if you are just listening to it on audio. It was Adrian from Shannon Heritage that organised it, and hashtag SP for the first time with Aoife McNamara actually allowing me to wear one of her designs today. So yeah, thanks a million to everyone, and I hope you enjoy Clodagh's story. Thanks. Hi Clodagh, how are you?
Good, thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me to share your podcast. I'm really, really honoured to be able to share my story in hopes to, I suppose, get a good message out there that there's light at the end of the tunnel. I have a very unique story, that maybe the odds kind of went against me and I came out the other side, so I'm eager to try and share the message and just give people hope.
I suppose I just want to start off by saying I suppose because obviously the nature of this topic, I just want to give a trigger warning to anybody that might be listening. We are going to be touching on the topic of suicide, and just if you are affected by that, maybe if you don't want to watch it if it's too much for you. But I suppose it goes back to, we had a conversation, a pre-interview, I suppose last Friday night, and you were watching Love Island. You were like, "Hon, call me at 10 o'clock when it's done." I was like, yeah, perfect, I'm a night owl anyway. And I just wanted to get a bit of a backstory because I knew that maybe something had happened, but I didn't realise the whole story. And I suppose I came off the phone to you
after 2 hours.
After 2 hours. Do you know, it actually cut out because after an hour it cuts out, and it actually cut out, and we called back, and just to hear your story, fair play to you, and you're amazing. You really, really are amazing. It's not that I'm just saying it. You're fantastic. And yeah, if you want to delve into the story now, and maybe we can share it with others.
Where to start? I suppose I'll start. I'm 26. I was in foster care from the age of 3. I was put in foster care within my own family because my mum was an alcoholic and my father was not present, so he was just gone out of the picture. Because I was kept within the family, it wasn't the same kind of rules that maybe that kids were given into care. So I was kind of passed from pillar to post with regards to aunts and uncles, kind of any family member that would take me. My mum's drinking kind of was very erratic, so she'd have stages of binges, and then she'd be okay for another couple of weeks, and maybe she'd go kind of off the rails again for a month or two. And during that period, I was kind of given to whatever family member would take me. Now at the time everyone lived in Dublin, so it was fine. But I ended up going to 7 different primary schools in how many years you're in primary school for. I went to 7 of them. I was born in Dublin. I made my communion in Kildare. I made my confirmation in Offaly. And I was in Wicklow for a year after Kildare at some point. I ended up moving to Limerick. I graduated in Limerick. I'm back in Dublin now. So when someone asks you, so where are you from? I'm kind of But I suppose it gives a bit of a unique backstory. So from the age of 3 until I was probably 8, I was passed from, say, my mum's back to an aunt, from my mum's back to my aunt. And there was a lot of times when I was younger, I witnessed a lot, maybe a lot more than the regular 5-year-old little girl should witness. So stability wasn't something that was probably very active in my life as a child. I saw a lot of unfortunate things. Like my mum obviously suffered with a lot of mental health issues. There was times that I would go into the sitting room and I would think that she was dead because she had like taken too much to drink and maybe some tablets that didn't agree with her. I'd be ringing my grandmother saying like my mum isn't waking up, and I suppose when I think back now it's a little heartbreaking because I have nieces and nephews now that if I thought they were experiencing anything like that I'd be heartbroken.
Of course, yeah.
Throughout that time she was put into 3 different rehabilitation centres, so I would go and visit her. So I think a huge problem as well is that like a lot of stuff was covered up.
Okay.
So I would go to the main one I remember her being in was Coonwera, and I would go to her and I would make cards and I'd buy little teddies. Well, obviously whoever's minding me I'd ask them to buy them, but I'd always say get well soon, I can't wait to see you again, and I'd tell everyone my mum was sick.
Okay.
Because nobody was straight up with me.
And so you genuinely did think that your mum was just sick?
Yeah. And I thought because as well that I used to go back to her, that like it would happen again, I would end up back with her.
Yeah.
And all I ever wanted, it was only ever me and my mum. I have 3 other sisters, but I was the only one that ever kind of grew up with her, so I was the closest. I was the only one that had a mother-daughter relationship with her, so it was a lot more heartbreaking for me than when I found out that she in fact wasn't sick.
Yeah.
And that there was something a lot deeper and a lot more serious.
Yeah.
I think I was, I'm gonna say maybe 8, max 9, when the aunt I was living with kind of sat me down and was like, look Clodagh, it's more than her just being unwell. And I remember just crying and crying and crying because they were just like, look, it's probably never going to get better, and she's probably going to have this forever.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking to myself, like, why did somebody not tell me this years ago?
Of course.
Like, why couldn't you be? And their obviously their argument was I was too young and I didn't understand, but I wasn't too young to witness going in and seeing her passed out on the floor, or seeing her in the states she was in.
So would you have preferred for people to have been transparent with you?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And I know like a lot of parents will not cover things up, but I suppose delay things in like telling their kids stuff because they think they're not old enough or whatever. But I really, really believe that honestly, to a point where it's expected for a child to understand, is definitely the best policy, because it would have saved me years of thinking that she was just unwell and I'd be back with her. It would made me understand a lot more. I couldn't understand why she was drinking. I remember specifically after she had gotten out of rehab that we were living in an apartment in Kilmainham at the time, I think it was, and I walked into the room and she was hoovering, but she had a glass of, I think it was Coke on the table, and she was hoovering, but she was dancing and singing at the same time, and that was my mum all over. She loved her music. And I stopped and I remember freezing and looking at her, and I'd say like the blood just drained from my face, because she straight away reassured me. She was like, taste it, there's no drink in it, like, because I thought straight away she's drunk again because look at the behaviour of her. But I tasted it and it was just Coke. So like, it was, even though I was young, I still knew that drink meant that something wasn't good, wasn't going to happen. You know? So I was able to resonate with that. So I think I was old enough to understand that, like, if someone had sat me down and was like, look, this is what's happening and your mum has a few problems, I might have understood it a little bit better than kind of, you know, people just throw me from house to house. I mean, not understanding.
And I suppose with regards to, I suppose we spoke last Friday and you did say that you kind of knew from an early age that, you know, you'd cry a lot and, you know, you had these kind of overwhelming feelings of sadness. Like, can you kind of just explain, like, you know, I suppose in regards to your situation and then how you felt, like, I suppose where, you know, the sadness came from and stuff?
So for as long as I remember, I was a very, very quiet child. I was very polite, I suppose. If you would ask me, do I want something to eat, I'd just go, I don't know. If you want something to drink, I don't know. And like, adults would say, like, Clodagh, what is wrong with you?
Yeah.
And, like, do you know, there's only so many times that someone can say, like, what's the matter with you? What's going on? And you can't understand yourself. Like, there's nothing to tell you. I don't know why I'm upset.
So you genuinely didn't know why?
I had no idea why I was feeling like that at all. All I could like connect it with was my mum.
Yeah.
Because I adored her, and not living with her was probably, like, it was the worst thing for me, because all I wanted was her.
Yeah.
We'd only ever had each other. So I never understood it. And I actually have a diary from when I was like 7, and it says that I used to cry myself to sleep at night. And I remember, and like, if I think of a 7-year-old now, like, it's absolutely heartbreaking to think of my younger self being so upset at such a small age, when that kind of thing shouldn't have been crossing my mind. And I didn't understand why, and I didn't speak about it. So there's a lot of confusing feelings that probably just, I suppose, kept on building up until my later teens.
And like, why didn't you want to talk about it? Were you just not ready, or was it your coping mechanism was to just pretend that it wasn't happening and just to keep going? Like,
I don't think there was anything deliberate.
Yeah.
I don't think I said to myself, I'm not going to talk about this. I don't think I said, I don't want to deal with this, there's nothing wrong. I just kind of, I suppose it's one of those things, it's fight or flight.
Yeah.
I just carried on, and because I was living with aunts and uncles, and because I was living with people that weren't my parents, I was very conscious of the fact that I don't belong here.
Okay.
And I was very conscious of the fact that they can kick me out as quick as they tuck me in. So I tried my best as a child, as a teenager, to do everything to a certain perfection.
Yeah.
So that I didn't disappoint anyone, so I didn't annoy anyone. So I didn't give anyone any reason to want to get rid of me.
Yeah.
Because I didn't understand, why is my mum picking drink? Why doesn't she just pick me? Why doesn't she love me? She loves drink more than me. And I said that to her more times growing up, because I just didn't understand, because nobody explained to me that it was a disease, it was a sickness, that she had mental health issues, because I didn't know what mental health issues are back then.
Yeah.
And as I kind of just got into that mindset, and as I got older and things got a little bit rougher in certain places that I was in, I just tried to power through and just do one day at a time. As I got older, I just kept saying, I just want to get my education. If I can get my education, I can create a better second half for my life. I just wanted to do well for myself and just not annoy anyone in the process. And
well, I must congratulate you, or I'm not even congratulate, but like, I suppose the fact that you did go to college, like you spoke to me about the day of your graduation. I suppose if you want to explain to people, because that for me, I think the way you explained it was like a turning point for you to say, okay, I need to do something about how I'm feeling. So yeah, if you want to. So
little background, like, I decided from a really early age, I grew up watching my mum draw, and I always loved to draw. I loved to draw cartoons, so like, it was a big dream of mine to study animation. So I was like, I'm going to go to art college, I'm going to follow my dreams, even though everyone was like, that's not a real career, you're never going to get a job, etc. I was like, no, I'm going to do it, I'm going to follow my dreams. And while I was in school, I had done, like, I was like big into sport, I had loads of friends, I had boyfriends, and I had social workers come in and out of my life, so there was no like alarm bells for them to be like, she's not doing well in school, or she's acting out, or she's rebelling. So nobody kind of was like, God, there's something wrong with Clodagh, like, we need to check in on her, is she doing all right? Because there's nothing there on the outside to say that I was.
You were doing really well in school.
I was doing well. Like, all my teachers, everyone was like, she's great, she's a great student, she's getting all A's. I won awards, I got a scholarship for college. There was nothing there to say, there's something wrong with Clodagh and we need to kind of look into it. So I just powered through. It was actually when my mum went through a really, really bad couple of years with drinking once she moved from one house out to Blackrock, I think it was, and she was kind of isolated, and she'd get drunk and she'd say things that were not very nice and whatever. Anyway, she ended up saying that she had cancer, And I genuinely think she believed in herself, like that she had cancer. But we had no way of finding out if this was true, if like this went on for weeks. It ended up being that it obviously wasn't true. And after that I decided I would try counselling.
Okay.
So I did that for, I think it was maybe 12 weeks. And I realised, and I knew when I was sitting there, that there was other stuff going on at home that maybe I wasn't talking about, because I was afraid that I would mess up the dynamics at home, that a social worker would come in and pull me out. And
in your aunt's house.
In my aunt's house. And I was happy with my friends, and I was happy with my boyfriend, and I was happy with my sport, and I didn't want to leave, but I was still unhappy, and I couldn't understand why I would wake up every morning and there'd be just an overwhelming amount of sadness. I just felt it. I just felt sad for no reason, and I couldn't explain it. And my aunt, who was living with me at the time, would say things like, you're going to have to pretend to be happy if you want to live here. And my cousins would say, like, you walk around with a face like a wet mop, and you're just dragging the family down, and why are you so miserable all the time? And like, there's only so much of that you can hear before you're like, yeah, like, what is wrong with me? There's obviously something wrong with me. Like,
but you kind of took your education as a second chance, like. And
I was like 100%. I was like, focus on school. So I just put all my focus into school, and I was like, if I can get to college and I can do that and I get my degree, I can just run away to Australia or something, and I'll just be away from everyone, and I can just start fresh. And that was my mindset. I was just going to run away. So I went through school. Towards the end, things were really difficult at home. I was working as a waitress, and it was draining, and I was still waking up every day, and the feelings were getting worse, and I just couldn't understand it. So we went to college. After, I think it was 9 months of being in college, maybe, I left that home. I decided I was going to live by myself, which came with a whole other amount of shit that I didn't need, to be honest.
And that's when you moved down to Limerick?
That was
like
when I moved,
time.
So I started in Limerick Senior for my portfolio course, and I couldn't believe the new freedom I had. And I was there for five days a week, and I was going back at the weekend, and I was still getting this shit of like, what's wrong with you? Why are you moping around? Like, and throughout I'd get, you used to cry about your mum, so you ruined family time, and you ruined this person's childhood because you were too busy crying, and all the attention was on you. So like, I just wanted rid of any attention, any sort of anything. I just was like,
fresh start.
I was just like a stone. I just didn't show emotion, and I think that was my mindset, that I just didn't want to bother anyone. As well, like when it was really hard at school, because I saw obviously all my friends getting like big parties and stuff for their birthdays and Christmas and everything, and I just didn't have that, which was tough. So there was elements of everything, I suppose, that was getting to me. So I went to college, started out on my own, and I was delighted with the new freedom. There was nobody telling me that I needed to try and be a certain way, act a certain way, and it was a relief. So ended up leaving, living by myself, and I was like, I can get through college, and then again, like, I'm nearly there, I can run away to Australia afterwards. Did that, and did my first year, and I can't remember what did I do after my first year. I think I just worked. I continued working as waitress, and that was fine. Same thing. Oh, do you know what? That summer my mum actually went into ICU, so I ended up going back a lot to I suppose them kind of toxic areas of like her waking up and being irritable, and then her going through patches of, I suppose, volatile behaviour. Like, she nearly lost her life, and then she went back drinking again, and that was hard for me to cope with, because I couldn't understand, if this isn't enough for you, you nearly lost your life, you nearly lost us, why are we not good enough? And I think that was a huge thing, that I never felt good enough. I never felt good enough that my mum would choose me over the drink. I never felt good enough because my dad left me. I never felt good enough because I wasn't being treated right in other places I was living, and I just thought that I was the problem. I went into my first year at the art college. I started my degree with animation, and I was working 5 nights a week in a nightclub to try put myself through college, which was really, really mentally, physically exhausting. I was trying to juggle everything with absolutely no support. I was down in Limerick by myself. It was my first year there, so I had no friends, I had no family, I had nobody, which was really took its toll on me. After my first year, I got through my first year, and I found myself extra sad, I suppose.
Really?
Yeah, and I couldn't explain it. I was like, I'm after leaving, and like it still hasn't gotten better. So again, I was thinking it's obviously me. Like, one night I got a message off a cousin that kind of tipped me over the edge, and I was like, that's it, I'm done. I was like, I've ruined the family. My life isn't getting better. Like, I tried to leave, and I thought my life would be better now, and it's not. It's me. Like, it starts and ends with me. So it was my first attempt at trying to take my life. I obviously wasn't successful. So I woke up the day after, and I think this is a huge thing that people don't talk about, the day after, like, attempting something like that, and I was really embarrassed. I don't know if I was really embarrassed that it didn't work, or I was really embarrassed that I had to deal with the fact that I had tried to do what I had done. I had watched my mum over the years attempt to take her life multiple times, be it she tried to drink bleach once, she tried to hang herself out of something or other, she multiple overdoses. Like, that behaviour was just so in my head, of just associated with my mother. So I was thinking, oh my god, I'm turning out like her, and like there's obviously something wrong with me because there's something wrong with her. I've been told there is. So that was really hard for me to take, and I think with everything of me leaving home, having no one, having no support, I was like, I need to just change my kind of path. So I booked a J1 to New York.
Amazing.
And I just got rid of my phone. I had no phone for the whole summer, which was great. I was like, I need to leave, I need to change scenery, because I need to just sort my head out. And I was like, this is going to be the best change ever. I'll come back, go back into college, I'll be a fresh start. Unreal. Went off to New York, had an amazing summer. It was just like your general J1, worked a lot, partied a lot, you know, saw the whole of New York. It was absolutely incredible, and I was really, really ready to come back and take on second year college. End of the summer came back, and my younger sister Lana, actually got a course in Limerick. So she was actually living with the aunt that I was still living with, or that I had been living with, and we had decided we were going to live together. Now, she didn't want that to happen, but it happened anyway. So I was delighted to have Lana. Like, I still had no friends and stuff down there, but I had my sister. So and she was the one person that I had while I was in that house. So we had each other for support, we had each other for backup, and I was like, this is going to be great. Like, we're going to have each other, and like, it'll be fine. So that was fine. We enjoyed having each other for I think it was 2 years we spent there. After the first year of so I was in my second year of college. She was still living back in that house that I had been living in, and after the school year had ended, she was moving back for the summer, which left me in Limerick by myself again. I remember thinking that I would be here by myself with no friends, no family, no support. Again, was feeling very down, very low, and again the feeling just wasn't going away, of the heavy heart, the weight on my shoulders, the overwhelming amount of sadness. And I was like, it's been a year and this still isn't going away. Like, it's obviously just ingrained in my being that I'm meant to be like this. So again, a year later, I attempted to take my life for the second time. This one was a little bit more serious because I had planned it, whereas the year before was out of impulse. So I went away and made sure I had everything to kind of be successful. So I wrote my letter, and I did everything to make sure that this time it was going to work. And I knew nobody would be there to find me because I was the only one that lived there. By absolute fate, the guy that was checking on the extinguishers of the apartment, we had an agreement with the landlord that if nobody answered the door, that he could let himself in. obviously let himself in, found me, rang me just in time, and I spent 4 days out in the regional. Again, I woke up the next day realising that I had been unsuccessful. I had to go through forms and talk to doctors upon doctors, and I swear it was the worst I've ever felt, is waking up in that hospital and knowing that, again, nobody knew I was there. I had absolutely nobody I could turn to. I was still embarrassed because I couldn't understand why I did it. I was thinking, I'm after making the same mistake again because it wasn't successful. I can't even do this right. And I remember a girl, I just cried. I just spent the days there just bawling, crying. And a girl I remember coming over from the far bed, and she just came over and she was like, look, it's going to be okay. And she gave me a hug, and that just made me worse, to be honest. And I was just thinking, I have to go home and like pretend this didn't happen. How do I can't talk about this. I can't tell anyone that this nearly happened. I definitely can't tell my younger sister because I wouldn't want to worry her. So after 4 days, they decided they're like, look, we want you to go to St. Anne's and check in with them once a week, and we're going to give you these antidepressants. And I was like, no way. I was like, I'm not taking tablets. Are you joking? There's nothing wrong with me. Like, this is a mistake. They discharged me. I got a taxi home by myself to the same apartment that I'd been in 4 days previous, trying to do what I did, the empty bottle of Hennessy there, whatever things. And I just threw them in the bin, pretended like nothing had happened, went back to college the following Monday or whatever it was, and acted like it had never happened, and didn't take no tablets, didn't go to St. Anne's, didn't just ignored it, to be honest. Like, I ignored everything at the time. And that was probably that was definitely the alarm bells to be like, you need to go get help. But again, I was like, nope, I'm fine, I don't need it. That was a moment of weakness. After that, I was very, very quiet and very, very controlled with my emotions. I didn't show emotion. I didn't cry about anything. I didn't let it on that I was struggling. And I never tried to attempt to do anything else again. And I was like, yeah, I'm fine. I'll just finish out college and you'll be fine. You can still run away.
You did say the day of your graduation, you kind of felt you were always looking forward to that day because
all this had happened through college, and obviously nobody had known, but I was just pushing everything. Like, obviously a lot of other stuff had happened, but I was pushing everything to the back of my head, and I was like, just get your degree. Just get your degree. Like, you've gone through all of this. Why are you trying to give up now? I was like, just see out the next 2 years. And what was hard was that I had done 5 years, whereas most of my friends had done 3 or 4. So they were all graduated, and I was still in this course that I was finding so hard, still working 5 nights a week. And I was just like focused on get your degree. So anyway, by 4th year, delighted, couldn't wait for the year to end, had my degree show, and then I was like, yes, like November, gonna get my degree, gonna get out of here, and couldn't wait for it, absolutely could not wait for this day. This is the day I was waiting for 10 years. I had pushed every single emotion to the back of my head for 10 years and powered through just for this one day. Got to my graduation, got my hair, makeup done, new dress, all the rest, and I remember them calling out my name, and this is my dream, and a degree in animation, it was my dream, it was what I'd been talking about for years. They called out my name, I went up, took my piece of paper, and I sat down. It was just the worst I've ever felt in my whole life. I thought everything would be magically okay. So everything that I didn't deal with, every bit of emotion, every bit of sadness, anger, upset, whatever it was, everything I didn't feel for 10 years just like hit me like a train. And I sat there thinking, oh my God, and there was still the hole there inside me. There was still my heavy heart, like a lump in my throat, the weight on my shoulders, and I was like, this didn't fix it all. I was like, shit, I have no plan B. This is what was meant to fix it. And that really hit me. I went out, went for dinner, went for a few drinks, and I came home and I had a full-on mental breakdown. And it was like 10 years of emotion had just come out, in one night, and I really was not prepared for that to happen. It was only the day after that I had sat there and was like, I need help.
You need help. That was the day that you decided.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I thought the degree would fix everything that had gone wrong beforehand and I could just start a new life, but I was like, no, I need help. And I decided to go to the GP. I went in and I was a bit embarrassed. Obviously it had on my record about being out in the regional, etc. And I said, look, I kind of just want to talk about the whole idea of maybe going on antidepressants. I said I've tried everything. I was big into the gym. I've tried the healthy eating. I've tried counselling. I've tried taking a walk. I've tried a cup of tea. I've tried all that stuff. It doesn't work. It hasn't worked for me. And he just said to me, and how does your life feel? And I just said, unbearable. I said I don't want to die, but I just feel like I'm just existing. And I broke down inside the GP's office, and he wrote me antidepressants, and it took about 6 weeks, I think, for them to kind of kick in. And once they did, the quality of my life just changed. Like, I can't even explain. I never thought that I would be able to wake up in the morning and not have an overwhelming feeling of just existing. Like, everything was a struggle. Getting out of bed was a struggle. Like, you don't understand how hard it was for me to just get out of bed. And for me to just be able to do that and get up for work.
But it's so funny that you say that, because even though it was so hard, you still did it. Like, you worked your 5 nights a week. You went and got your degree. Like, you did all of it. Like
honestly, I look back and I'm like, I don't know how.
Yeah.
I really don't know how. It was pure determination. I suppose it just not wanting to fail.
You're amazing.
Even though there was the bumps and the almost, I just didn't want to be another statistic. I didn't want to be another person that the HSE had failed, that the mental health system had failed, that I didn't want all that stuff that I had gone through to not be worth it. And I think I just had to keep that in my mind at the weaker times, that I was just like, just do it, just get through it. And thankfully...
No, girl, you killed it.
Thankfully, I wouldn't go that far. Like, it was a struggle, but thankfully I got there.
So I suppose, look, like, you know, obviously after, I suppose, that time when you had went on the medication and stuff, like, you asked for help that day, didn't you?
Yeah, so I had said to him, look, I've tried a counsellor before, it was years ago, but I'd like to see another one. And he said, that's fine. He said, I'll get on to, I think it was St. Anne's at the time, and see if I can put you in touch with a counsellor. I was like, grand. I'd come back in 6 weeks for another prescription anyway. So when I went back, he was like, how is the tablets working? I was like, it's amazing. I can't believe the difference. Like, how I'm feeling, like, it's unbelievable. Can't believe I've never tried this before, out of pure ignorance of not wanting to take a tablet. I was like, I take tablets for migraines all the time. Why would I not take it for my mental health? And he was like, okay, but the clinic has said that you're not urgent enough for a counsellor. And I was kind of like, what? So I've come in here and I had said, I really don't want to die, but I feel very suicidal. I really want to talk to someone. It has taken me 10 years to admit this, and they're telling me I'm not urgent enough. So the question I went away was saying, do I have to come in with the noose around my neck? Do I have to come in with the tablets in my mouth before you're taken seriously? And if I wasn't a serious enough case, like, you hear all the time about how people are turned away and told to come back next week or come back whenever. And it's too late for those people. Like, it's just not good enough.
Yeah, no.
So, thankfully, the medication made such a difference that I was able to get through on just that. And I was able to kind of come out and talk about things. I was talking to my boyfriend at the time of how I was feeling. I was talking to various other people because I felt a little bit better about it. Because I was feeling better in myself.
Was this the first time that you were kind of talking to people about what was going on internally? Like?
Yeah, to me, I was like, no, there's nothing wrong with me before that. And it was the first time in my life I was like, do you know what? Okay, maybe there is an issue here, but it's okay.
So, like, talking does help?
Absolutely, absolutely does help. Now, for me, thankfully, I'm a very strong-minded person, so them telling me that maybe I wasn't urgent enough didn't affect me as badly as maybe someone that was desperate.
Of course.
Because if someone turns to a doctor and is like, I'm at my wit's end, and they say, oh, well, we don't really think so, that can push someone over the edge.
Yeah, no, of course.
So thankfully I was strong enough that the medication was doing enough for me. But that was, I think, the start of January. I had decided at the time that I was like, I've realised now I've been through so much that I'd really like to get this message across.
Okay.
But I was a bit embarrassed to the sense of, I was like, oh, I don't want people to think that I'm trying to like look for attention. I don't want people to think that I'm trying to like, I don't know, people tell me that I'm great to make me feel better. Because there's obviously a huge stigma that surrounds mental illness in Ireland. So I again kept quiet. I didn't really tell people that there was much going on. I just kind of powered through most days. Some days were good, some days are bad. I think people have the preconception that medication is maybe uppers or they're downers or they're going to make you emotionless.
Yeah.
And it couldn't be further from the truth. It just, I suppose, balanced things. I still had my bad days, still cried. I still had great days, still had loads of emotion. Nothing was fake.
Yeah. Probably just wasn't manic. Like,
that's it.
To the extent of...
It just brought me to the level of being able to deal with everyday problems as opposed to being able to deal with everyday problems and then underneath the surface trying to pull myself out of bed. Because that was the biggest thing, trying to get myself out of bed, the energy to go to the gym, the energy to shower, the energy to brush my teeth. And it's a huge thing that, like, thankfully people can be ignorant. Like, there's people there that are too ignorant to take medication or whatever, and they have the luxury to be ignorant. They don't understand that that's a real problem of just being able to get yourself out of a bed. Thankfully it worked, and honestly I'll take medication till the day I die if it gives me this quality of life. My mental health has never been as strong and as good as it is at the moment, which I'm really, really grateful for. I'm really confident in myself, and it's taken a long, long time and a lot to get through to get me to this point. Unfortunately, after I got my mental health in kind of the right kind of shape, I suppose, and I was good, a few months later one of my own friends had taken his life, and on the same night my mum had taken her life. Now I look back and think that if I hadn't been on my medication, that would have been the straw that broke the camel's back.
Of course.
But I'm grateful that I was in a good, like, I was strong. Now obviously it's changed. It's changed me as a person. From when I lost her, because she had her problems and
she was your mum, you know.
And the thing about it is, when she was good and she was sober, she was the best person in the world.
Yeah.
And it's just sad that she never got the opportunities to probably live her life to the fullest, to get the opportunities that maybe I'm lucky enough to have now. I was stronger than she ended up being. She couldn't handle the issues. She didn't really have much support. She had been in a psychiatric unit for 9 weeks the year previous, and she was let out. There was no such a kind of protocol or anything. Afterwards, she was left to do her own thing. She was a very, very heavy drinker, had a drinking problem for as long as I can remember. So obviously went back to those ways, and in the end it better, unfortunately. And she lost her battle to mental illness. So like, looking back on that week, I lost a friend, a male friend in his 30s. He had just turned 30. I think it was 2 months afterwards. I obviously lost my mum, who was a female, would be turning 50 2 months after she had passed. And I think that's proof in itself that mental illness doesn't discriminate. Whether you're male, female, what age, no matter how much money you have, no matter how many friends you have. I swore after I lost her that I would do everything in my power to speak up, to try and share my story, to maybe give someone a little bit of hope. There was a time I felt like nothing was ever going to get better, that there would never be any light at the end of the tunnel, and I genuinely believed that, and I genuinely believed that I was the burden to the world and that nobody would miss me. And if I thought for a second that anyone that I care about, or even anyone, had felt like that, like my heart breaks thinking of people in that kind of turmoil, because you really don't know how strong you can be until being strong is your only option. And I just want to get the message across that, like, even though it's really tough now and you might feel like it will never get easier, it really does. And to just keep fighting and talk to someone and just be, I think my thing now is just to kind of go with whatever emotions I have, to feel them in the time and stop trying to push them back.
And so I suppose, like, obviously I'm sure you have your great days and your down days and things like that, but when you do get your down days, like, how do you cope with that? Like, have you got your little mechanisms? Like, is there certain things that if anyone's watching here that like might be affected by it, that they can take a little technique maybe that you've learned how to deal with your bad days?
I think a big problem I had was I was a massive people pleaser.
Okay.
So if I wake up and I'm like, do you know what, today is not a good day. After my mum passed, I said, I'm doing things that it's going to suit me. I'm not going to do things just because I'm afraid I'm going to hurt someone else's feelings if they can't understand that I'm not able for this.
Yeah, exactly.
I remember going to a wedding and having to leave before the first dance because the speeches absolutely broke me. It was, I think, 4 months after she had died, and it kind of hit me that I was never going to have this normality. If I wake up and I have a bad day and I feel like staying in bed that little bit later, I'm a Friends fanatic, so it's comfortable to me. So if that's what I want to do for the day, I'm not going to feel guilty about it. If going to the gym and turning my phone off is how I feel like spending my day, or if it's spending my day in my pajamas, it's literally just learning how to be kinder to yourself. Stop putting yourself in situations that is going to affect your mood or affect your mental health. A lot of people suffer with social anxiety but feel like they have to go to their friend's birthday because their friend will be upset. Well, they'll be a good enough friend to realise that something like that is really going to trigger them. So I think getting to the point where, you know, just because I'm looking after myself doesn't make me a bad person.
Of course.
I can still be the most caring, kindest person in the world and say, these are my boundaries, and today going over and spending 5 hours in your house isn't going to help me feel any better. Or not answering the phone to someone, like not answering the phone and just explaining, look, I'm not really in the mood today, I'll bring you back tomorrow. It's those little things of realising you can say no. And not feeling bad for feeling bad. It's normal. Everyone's human.
There's no shame in it. Like,
no.
You know.
And I think if I need a cry, I'll have a cry. I think like one of the best therapies is just to like cry when you feel like crying. And I think it's underestimated how good that can be and how therapeutic it can be. For me anyway, because I feel like it releases a lot of tension. But definitely learning to say no and learning what helps you. Everyone's different, so what works for me might not work for someone else, but learning the boundaries of pleasing other people, if it's going to affect your mental health, it's just not worth it. Be it a career, a job, a relationship, no matter who it is, a family event, money, it just isn't worth it. And I've learned that the hard way. It's just, if it's gonna, your mental health is as important as your physical health, and they go hand in hand, and whatever you can do to make sure both are intact, just do it, and don't be sorry about it, and don't feel bad that you're looking after yourself, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter who you have around you, you're the only one that's going to make sure that you're okay, because you're the only one that knows what's going on inside your head. And it took me a long time to realise that. And like with regards to, I suppose, you know, your mother's situation with dying by suicide, like you told me that there is a little bit of support that you get from Pieta House, just for anyone that I suppose has been like affected by it. Yeah, so I actually didn't realise that. So I didn't want to go back to regular counselling, didn't feel like I was ready. It's still very raw. It happened in August 2017. Like, because she was from Dublin, things take a little bit longer to process. Her inquest was actually only last month. Yeah. If anyone doesn't know what an inquest is, it's you go to the coroner's court and they give a verdict on her, I suppose, reason of death. Her death was something that I'm not ready to go into detail about, but was a little bit different than your average one. She was there for a number of days. We didn't get to see her, didn't get to do the usual stuff of spending time and looking through things. I actually suffered with PTSD afterwards for a number of months, which had me waking up with nightmares and not being able to sleep and not being able to eat and function. So it was all very, very difficult on top of the situation as it was. So I wasn't ready to just go to a counsellor and just be like, I'm upset because my mum is dead, like, because I just couldn't understand it. I couldn't. And at the time, I threw myself into a lot of things. So I'm actually an ambassador for Community Crisis Response Team, and I threw myself into doing fundraisers for them in her memory and like talking about it on my Instagram and like trying to be like a mental health advocate, because I think I was more angry about the whole situation. Because I obviously know mental illness on both sides of the coin. Like, I've suffered myself, I've lost people. So I had a delayed reaction of grief. But it wasn't until I did the Limerick Rose last April that they brought us out to Pieta House, and he told me that they do 40 hours free counselling service for family members of people who have died by suicide. I never knew that. I was thinking I'll never be able to afford counselling, not a decent counsellor anyway, so I just kind of written it off. I didn't actually realise that they did that service. I haven't actually availed of it yet, but that's my plan. I just hadn't felt like I was ready. I wanted to get the inquest over with just to see how I reacted, but that would be my plan going forward, to go through bereavement counselling, because I think I had such a delayed reaction with regards to grief that it just, I wasn't ready to process it, but that's it going forward anyway.
Okay. Well, Clodagh, thank you so much
Absolutely,
for like sharing your story with me and with everybody else. Like, I just think you're incredible, and you know, like you talked about defying the odds of, like, you know, being in foster care and like the percentage of people that like pull through, and like not only that but everything else along the way, and you have completely strived, like, and just surpassed like people that have had it easy. Like,
I guess,
you know,
my goal going forward, I want to be the person I needed when I was younger.
Okay.
And you don't see, say, I suppose I'm taking part in the Miss Limerick now later, but it's those kind of figures in the public eye. You don't see those coming from the different backgrounds.
Of course. Yeah.
And that's what I'm trying to break. I'm trying to break the
cycle.
normality of it, and show that, you know, if she can do it, so can I, because I never had someone to look up to. I thought I was by myself in it, and if I'd had someone that I could have looked at and been like, well, she was going through something similar and she got through it, and all I have to do is keep working towards what I want and my goals, and I can do that too. It's literally, it's all about that. That's what I'm trying to achieve now, is just be that person that I needed for my younger self.
And so let's just say if somebody wanted to reach out to you after watching this, like, are you okay with somebody getting onto you on Instagram, or is that too much for you?
No, absolutely. Now, I always say, obviously I'm not a GP, so like what works for me doesn't work for anyone else. And if there has been people that have messaged me after I've talked at seminars and stuff, and been like, look, I'm really suffering and whatever, and I do, like, I'm not neither in the mindset, nor I don't have the qualifications to advise you, other than go speak to your GP. I can talk about my experiences all day long. People can like resonate with that, and
but you're not there.
But I'm not there
take
to
on other people's shit, like, because
you're
just not
even that. It's just I don't have the qualifications, and I would never try and dictate how. I would never say you need to go on medication, you need to go see this, because it's not my business, and I don't know what is going on in someone else's head. I'm not qualified. All I can do is share my story and hope that it will give someone inspiration to maybe go look for the help that they need.
So what's your Instagram? if anyone wants to like, follow you.
Just Clodagh Cahill _ very simple. So I'm always like, I've no problem replying to DMs, and if anyone has any questions, that's absolutely fine, but just know I can't give out any medical advice or anything. So
okay, you're amazing. Thank you
so much, Sophie.
I appreciate it. Thank you.